Yes, this is Finley Bishop, and my speech today is on the increasing crisis of marriages in the world today. I want to begin my speech with a guy by the name of Scott Jennings. Um, his marriage was in crisis, and he suffered from alcoholism, adultery, and other problems. Basically, his story goes like this: his wife and him were married. They were not Christians. Um, he had several issues, and he turned to drinking and adultery. His wife suggested that something was up, so she found him at someone else's house, had his car alarm turned off and or turned on, and when he came out, she confronted him. She filed for divorce, and once the divorce was finalized, he moved out and moved in with his parents. Basically, at that point, he felt like his life was over. He was down and out, and he accepted Christ as a Savior. Upon accepting Christ as a Savior, he decided to email his wife, and they started Bible studies. After doing several Bible studies together, they eventually were reconciled. They both work for Family Life Today, and they work at the Weekend to Remember marriage conferences. I know this story sounds sad and unbelievable, but unfortunately, a majority of marriages today are in crisis. I have two famous people that will quote me. Jimmy Evans from Marriage Today, he says that marriages are in serious crisis. First of all, the marriage rate is decreasing while the divorce rate is increasing. He said his goal of Marriage Today is to keep people together, especially children, intact with both parents. That's so important to Marriage Today. My second source is Allison Pugh from University of Virginia. She's a professor of sociology there. She states that are marriages in crisis? Yes, marriages are in crisis, and there's several things that we have to look at. First of all, is America having a marriage crisis? Quotes Allison. Certainly. The Institute of Marriage is changing, and it's worth taking a look at and why and where it might end up. It's also a question that a number of researchers at the University of Virginia need to address. There's issues of women in the workforce now, emotional expectations for partnerships, and marriage benefits and costs to individuals and families. She says that the researchers are looking why the marriage rates are down. Basically, the women's liberation movement is one reason why. Most women are getting jobs, and they do not need money they do not need the money from men that they had before. Robert Emory, University of Virginia, marriages are treated as a business arrangement, he quotes. The men are there for financial support, and the women in turn do the housework and raise the children. He said back then, basically people were in marriages for financial reasons. That was years ago. He says now people are seeing that love is what keeps them married and not money. So he says basically now if people are not personally fulfilled in a marriage and they have the ability to have income somewhere else or to make income in their jobs, then they're more easily susceptible to leave. However, he states there are some different factors too in generational issues. Like in the 1960s, he says that some people in the 1960s had the same wage rates, but yet they stayed together. Commitment lasted longer for some reason in the 60s than it does now. So for some reason, we have a decreasing belief of commitment now. Back in the 60s, they believed you stayed together no matter what. However, now we don't have those same values. Another issue he addressed was the increasing rate of birth control pills. He says that as women take birth control pills, they can control when they have children, which in turn can control when they get married or how long from then when they get married. Another issue that he said was when marriages tend to be down and the divorce rate tends to be up, then people start to get scared. They don't want to get married. friends listen to other friends' horrible divorce stories, the nightmares that people go through, and they don't want any part of it. I can personally vouch for this. My girlfriend Juliet, she's a social worker. She says that she'll stay that way. She will never get married after talking to me and what I went through with my husband and our other girlfriend that went through a horrible divorce. At that point, she says she doesn't want anything to do with marriage. Robert, the professor at University of Virginia, also looked into this further. He said that if marriages are decreasing and people are scared, and their friends are scared, there's another alternative that people have now, which is cohabitation. They feel, why commit if basically you're just going to get divorced? So no commitment equals no divorce is what he saw. When we look at cohabitation, we can look at Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Most people don't believe that we live in Hollywood marriages. However, this marriage does, or actually this cohabitation, does reflect our society today. Looking upon cohabitation, the cohabitation rates have increased. This is showing our first rate, our marriages, as I said before, the marriages were decreasing, as you can see, since 1920. The marriages are decreasing since 1920. Oh, wow. And the divorces are increasing since 1920. This is so hard for her to see. Okay. The other graph that I have is showing the cohabitation rates. These are married households. Oh my goodness. It's going to be difficult. Okay, married households in 1940. Married couples were 84% then. Now if we look at 2010, we show married couples only 50%. Bless your heart. Okay, the statistics that we show here, basically, they say 20% of the people getting married are age 30. So in other words, people are waiting longer to get married. They also say that 15 times the number of people together in the 1960s are cohabitating, and half of those people have children. So it's 15 times more than in the 1960s that people are cohabitating. Half of the number of all married couples say that they lived together before they got married. These percentages are likely to increase. The number of households in the U.S. that are manned by unmarried couples has increased in 2010. It's now up 6.7%. This is Rose Keidler, 2010. Increase in opposite sex cohabitating couples, 2009, in our annual Social Economic Supplement, Washington, D.C. Bureau of Census. Basically, 1970, the number of unmarried couples with children increased 12-fold, and about 42% of those children live with a cohabitating adult. Another graph. This graph shows the median age. Oh my goodness. Okay, this graph is showing the median age of people that are getting married in the United States. It is age is 28 in the United States versus like India, which is 19.9. So basically, we're a country right now that is waiting to get married. I stated the reasons why. Other countries don't seem to have the same issues. And I also want to make solutions. One solution was there's Obama, and I think the president before him, increased funding for economic research centers that have marriage books and marriage resources. However, there was critics that said that the funding for the government to do this was inappropriate. I feel that well, they said this was not a mission of the government. I feel like we should be on a mission. I feel like we should be on a mission to save marriages. So whoever thinks that's inappropriate is wrong. We are on a mission. God called us on a mission, and we're on a mission to save marriages and hopefully save the United States. Solutions that I suggested were, first of all, the government needs, obviously, the programs. We have to increase those federal resource centers locally. Churches need to get involved. They need to have resources. Churches can have resources like libraries, counseling centers, Sunday school classes that are related to marriage. One of the other things I found in my research is that churches are very lax in the way they view adultery, the way they view marriage. Churches now are very, the sociology book said basically churches now don't even regard marriage hardly, and adultery and things like that. To them, it's nothing. So we need to increase the ways that churches view marriage. We need to make sure we have pastors that take the sanctity of marriage seriously. We see that in some churches, and we don't see that in others. Other suggestions I suggested is to support programs like Marriage Today, Family Life Today, help start counseling centers in the area. Also look at changes in the laws, because the laws are very lax regarding divorce. And also to get together and help people go to marriage or family life marriage conferences. That's one awesome thing that people can do, and hopefully others can get together to do that. Churches can support that. Also, churches, like our churches in Cocoa Beach, had marriage conferences at the churches themselves. They supplied those marriage conferences. So things like that can be done also. And then I said to help visualize this, we can see our government supporting programs in our local areas, like the resource centers. We can also see solutions as families stay together and the children stay together and are raised up in a home with a mom and dad. We can visualize this also as things seem to go more smoothly together with families. And we can also see this as families have Christ-centered programs at churches. And then the other thing was, how can you make changes yourself? I think you can make changes yourself by inviting people to family life programs, marriage weekends to remember. I think also we can make changes ourselves by addressing issues in our church and not ignoring them. If we see a family that's in crisis, trying to help them. Starting counseling centers within our churches is an awesome thing. And also volunteering at any other places, like marriage enrichment places and other places too. So basically I want to wrap this video up and say, I think that marriages are in crisis. I think there's something that we can do, and hopefully you'll join me on this mission. Thank you.